My name is Mark Lerner. I'm the co-founder of the Constitutional Alliance. We live in a society today where literally government would have us create a 24/7 digital footprint. What does that mean? That means that the who, what, how, when, and where of each of our lives is recorded. Biometric is measurement of the body. That's the simple definition. What does it really mean? Biometrics are a way of identifying you through unique characteristics of your body. Commonly, we think of fingerprinting, iris scans, and facial recognition. Facial recognition is simply the mapping of your face. Every American citizen is being enrolled into a single global biometric identification system that directly links our bodies to our ability to be able to buy, sell, and travel. If you go into a bank, you want to withdraw your money, you show your driver's license. If you go to a store to cash a check, you show your driver's license. Many times today, if you walk into certain buildings, you have to show identification. When you go to pick up your prescription, you show your driver's license. If you're going to rent a hotel room, you show your driver's license. Your driver's license is attached to you in much the same way as the clothes you wear. You don't go anywhere without it. Our government is taking control of your driver's license. I got an inside look at what our government strategy was, which is really very simple: to know everything and anything about each of us, including our biometrics. I contacted the largest biometric company in the United States. I became a confidant of the most senior people in that company. They invited me to their company headquarters on numerous occasions. They invited me to conferences that included people in the military, people in our intelligence community, and people in the biometrics industry. I also found out there was a great deal of wrongdoing taking place. I reported that wrongdoing to our government. That information was kept from Congress. It was not acted on by our government. So that's the reason I came forward, especially once the Real ID Act was proposed, to warn the American people about biometrics, about this strategy of knowing everything about everybody. I want to talk about a couple of quotes. One from a gentleman named Julian Ashburn. Julian Ashburn, speaking as the chairman of the International Biometrics Agency, declared, "We need a global agency with global powers." Our own Robert Mockney of the Department of Homeland Security is on record talking about the need to share with governments and corporations our personal information, including our biometrics. The government wants our biometrics because literally the government wants a surveillance society. And what every American needs to understand, you cannot reconcile a surveillance society with a free society. Despite what government would tell you that it's about security, I would argue it is not. It is about control. I am going to explain to you that in fact the Real ID Act is much more than a national ID. It's no accident that when President Clinton and Congress entered into an agreement that we refer to as NAFTA, AMVA was already working on creating a single jurisdiction for the sharing of information. In 1994, when NAFTA was signed or ratified as a treaty, AMVA proposed a single jurisdiction for the sharing of information between the states of the United States, the provinces of Canada, and the districts of Mexico. Now, many people argue about the Real ID Act specifically that the federal government is setting guidelines for state driver's license. The word that is being left out of that is the federal government is setting international standards as guidelines for a state driver's license. In the Real ID Act itself, the word biometric is not to be found. It's only when you go to that footnote on page 68 of the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking do you find out that our government wants to use your digital facial image, your photograph, as a biometric to be able to identify you. Now, your digital facial image, which you refer to as your photograph, the standard for that digital facial image is derived, or the adopted standard, of the ICAO. ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization, an agency of the United Nations. If you look at the Real ID Act, the purpose, which is derived from the 9/11 Commission, the single most important purpose was to ensure we had one person, one record. People were not getting multiple driver's licenses under different names, and also that we knew who the person was who was getting the driver's license. Now, AMVA, the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, they have been pushing for the use of biometrics for over 2 decades. AMVA itself is named as the hub and the backbone of the Real ID Act in the final rules issued by the Department of Homeland Security. Now, its name implies that it is truly an American organization. The fact is, AMVA is an international organization. They proclaim so on their website. When I came forward in 2004, turned evidence over to the government of the wrongdoing in the biometrics industry, the largest biometrics company in the United States was a company called Visage Technology. They were worth roughly $50 million. But I warned people then, this was a company to be watched. Visage morphed into another company called L1 Identity Solutions. L1 Identity Solutions has either direct or indirect access to the information, your personal information, in state DMV databases. The federal government, what we call the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, approved the sale of L1 to a French company named Safran. They described themselves as a partner of Communist China for 40 years. Safran is 30% owned by the French government. If the government knows the who, what, how, when, and where of our lives, they are able to control our actions. The people that attended the Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, those people unknowingly had their facial images captured by cameras and compared to law enforcement databases. So let me be very clear of this. When the people entered the stadium, their facial images were captured. Those facial images of the fans were compared to facial images that were in law enforcement databases. 85% or maybe even more of Americans, they're intimidated by government. If they believe that they are going to be identified in public, if they go to a rally, they'd rather stay home. So what I want people to take away from what I'm saying is, yes, we're being told on one hand that our country does face a threat. Call it jihadism or Islamic extremism, call it whatever you would like. But that threat is being used to circumvent our Constitution. What we have today is a few making decisions for many. That is not representation. We are supposed to have a representative form of government. The consent of the governed is what allows government to do what it does. That system has broken down. How can we impact, in other words, in our mind, stop these two international organizations, other international organizations, from having more influence on our nation's policies and laws than you, the people, have? And the only way we came up with to do that is through the court system. Kay Beach is a member of the board of directors of the Constitutional Alliance, but she made a decision independent of that that she could no longer in good conscience renew her driver's license. She decided she did not want to be enrolled into this single system of identification that directly linked her body to her ability to buy, sell, and travel. Kay Beach and her attorneys, Ben Sisney and John Eccles, presented Kay's case to the Norman City Attorney, at which time the Norman City Attorney made the decision to dismiss Kay's case, the charge for driving with an expired driver's license. The bigger goal is to file a suit in state court, which will articulate the reasons that Kay feels she should not have to renew her driver's license. In the Declaration of Independence, our forefathers recognized that our liberty comes from our Creator. Liberty is neither ours to give or take. Liberty is ours to preserve. If you remember my earlier definition of biometric, bio meaning body, metric meaning measurement, literally the number of man. Databases and identification documents are compromised. Think about it. We've all read, Department of Defense has been hacked. Documents compromised. Corporations have been hacked. Our personal information, social security numbers, date of birth, credit card information has been compromised. We know driver's licenses and other identification documents are counterfeited. So where is all that taking us? This compromising of databases and counterfeiting of identification documents. The day is coming, people, that we are going to move the identification process from the document to directly on the individual. When we cannot have document integrity, when we can't have databases that are secure, the only option left, and this is what we're going to be told, is to move the identification process directly to the individual. The time to resist being in this system is now.